Football is a game of 90 minutes, played on the pitch and not on paper. But based on the strengths and wits of certain teams, it is only right that certain outcomes occur. Which is why we bring some of the best minds to help us in placing and cashing out on profitable bets. Hello and a very warm welcome to Kicking It with NairaBet. It's a pleasure to have the guys in the house, more so Biola Kazeem, who is a very hard man to track down if you, of course, follow him on Twitter. It's good to have you, Biola Kazeem, on the show.
Good to be here. You've been a minute.
We haven't seen you since the dusk of the decade, but it's pretty much, it feels like a long time away, but certainly a pleasure to have you. So it's also good to have you as well.
Thank you for having me over. I had to drag this guy from the marathon in.
That's true.
That's how we do.
Pretty much.
That's how I do.
Fantastic stuff. It's been an interesting weekend of football, and we're certainly here to walk our way through all the biggest talking points and certainly touch base with some profitable bets here on the show. You can also be a part of it on social media. Use the hashtag Kicking It with NairaBet. If you're not following us on Twitter, it's at KNairaBet, and on YouTube at Kicking It with NairaBet. Welcome back to Kicking It with NairaBet. It's been a minute we saw you, but of course we're back for some interesting conversations. We brought Biola Kazeem to help us through some of the very intense and bold-raving conversations. But let's start off with those big games which we saw at the weekend. And of course, the best place to begin with is Inter Milan against AC Milan at the San Siro. And it clearly felt like the game we thought it would be. From the previews, it was all matched up. Zlatan versus Lukaku. You had some of the Antonio Conte, versus Pioli. Big game in all ramifications, but it didn't fall short of any sort of excitement.
That was a really, really good game. Probably the best derby we've seen in a while. In fact, I was a couple of weeks ago. I was just speaking with a friend, talking about how derbies, in some sense, have lost. Not just their meaning, their intensity. We used to look forward to derbies up until a couple of years ago, but it just looked like over the past couple of years, but derbies have not been as intense. They've been one-sided, lopsided, in many ways predictable. But this was none of those. Going into the game, one would have thought that with Inter Milan having a chance to go top of the Serie A, they probably will have maybe not necessarily smashed past AC Milan, but just eke out a win, because AC Milan as well. You notice have been some decent run of form in recent times, but AC Milan flipped the script, went 2-0 up. I actually wasn't watching the game at that point in time. I was rushing back home and I saw 2-0 up. I'm like, oh, this game is over. And by the time I was getting home, it was already 2-1. By the time I got upstairs, it was 2-2. I'm like, wow, we've got a game on our hands. So I did, watch,
the finishing part.
I watched the finishing part and I rewatched the whole game. And that was a game and a half. It was a really, really, really good game. And if Inter Milan ultimately go on to win the championship, you get the feeling that this was the game that really, really asked questions of their character, and they've responded. Over past, past 2-3 weeks, they've dropped a couple of points that were against Calgary.
You thought they probably shouldn't have dropped those
done
points,
enough to win. And given how dominant Juventus have been over the past few years, the feeling is that Inter Milan have such low margins of error that if they made errors they made in games like Cagliari, go 2-0 behind AC Milan, they probably won't do enough to come back. But to see them come back in that fashion, to see their players respond with such desire, such hunger, which literally just mirrored Antonio Conte's own character, and how he expresses himself. Like I said, would probably suggest that there's championship stuff in this side. They might not go on to win it, but if they do win it, it does look like this was the game that literally just epitomized that maybe somewhere in there they believe they can be champions in Italy.
It was the first time Inter Milan. It's actually the first time they're still pretty much anywhere in the top two positions since the 2010 treble winning season at this particular point in time in any season since that time. And more so, if you go back to what Biola said, they were 2-0 down at halftime. It's the first time they've come back to overturn such a victory against AC Milan since the 1940s. It tells you just how much a victory it was for Inter Milan.
I don't feel like it's just a victory for Inter Milan. It's more like the story of the Serie A for this season, because right now we have two teams that are second and third having just similar tiny margin. I'm talking about Lazio and of course Inter Milan. And then you have Juventus that are dropping the ball, and you're seeing clubs that are trying to tweak something. Even AC Milan, they've been learning new tricks. They've been trying to change halfway through the season. They're trying to change their formation. They are doing a 4-4-1-1. Even over the weekend, they still tried out something different again. They were dropping the Croatian Rebic. They dropped it to Rebic. And I think it was one of the things that upset their game over the weekend for the Milan derby, because basically it wasn't like Ibrahimovic was a bad buy. the first half, he was giving them a man and a half. You could see that he was controlling
38,
everything that was coming into that guy. I don't know. But I would say this though, it wasn't really that Inter Milan did the best. It was that AC Milan dropped the ball. The same cracks they had in the beginning of the season, they've been trying to patch it through. And by the second half, they were the second to get the area balls. They were the second to go for stuff. And by then, Conte had already done what he did when he was in Chelsea. What every Premier League player knows is going to be the thing, especially when you have players like Eriksen, you have players like Young, you have players like Moses, who came in and gave a very beautiful assist in the 93rd minute thereabouts. So you expect that they were going to turn over and give them small initial gragra. Normally, that initial gragra will end after the first 10 minutes into the second half. But when they were giving the gragra, and the people I'm expecting to give me a boss did not give me a boss after my bass, I will bass you and bass you and bass you.
You've got to say, Conte is one of the most tactically adept managers. He almost adjusts real time to the realities of the game. And it's interesting because his opposition, Stefano Pioli, wasn't given much of a chance when he got the job at AC Milan. They all thought, oh wow, we've gone from bad to worse almost, but he hasn't lost a game going into that game in 2020. There's been a bit of an enthusiasm across the AC Milan faithful, especially with the signing of Zlatan.
I mean, so there's some form of mini renaissance obviously going on, at AC Milan. I mean, they'll take this loss maybe not too badly because they are not in championship places. I mean, it's for them is the best of a bad season that they're trying to make. They will feel some type of way, obviously, going to the lead and losing the way they lost in the second half. But I don't think it will hit them too hard. I imagine that it wouldn't be too hard for them to recover. I think that the side all to gain from this, obviously, was Inter Milan. They absolutely needed to win. Who wants Juventus? Look, here's the thing. Juve have been champions, 7-8 years now?
Yes, forever.
If you are going to get the title off of them, when they make mistakes, you've got to pick up all 3 points. And that was what Inter Milan did.
Well, speaking of Juventus, they actually lost to Verona, which of course we've alluded to. Verona, speaking of which, drew with AC Milan the previous week, and we're hearing that they have the lowest wage budget across the Italian Serie A. It's quite the victory for them, isn't it?
Of course, it's the strength of character. And it was good you mentioned Juventus just now, because I wanted to mention that for teams like AC Milan and Juventus, and for any team that still uses that old template of, even Barcelona has that problem. That's why they are now in a very downward spiral when it comes to Messi. Do not build your team on one guy. That's how Verona were able to, discombobulate, as we would like to talk, or annihilate or abrogate our people. Right. They knew all the channels was going to go through Ronaldo. It was the focal point. Same thing for AC. They knew that if anything was going to happen, it's going to probably come from the boss himself, Ibro. But look at teams like Inter. Look at teams like Lazio. See what Inzaghi brother, the used boys, did they do. You're seeing a Colombian guy, was Ecuador guy, Felipe. You then see the boy, they finish work. You don't know where the next attack is coming from.
Right.
Those are the teams that will be making sense. Not the one man assassin.
Fantastic stuff then. A great week in the Serie A. Certainly 1 point separating the top 3 teams in the Serie A, basically. And of course, Juventus still holding forth in the top of the table. And Inter Milan are breathing down their necks. And Lazio are doing phenomenal with Inzaghi, of course, who is actually doing a great stuff there. Well, then we take another break on the show. When we come back, we'll touch base with the Premier League. And we're looking forward to some great games at the return of the winter break. Welcome back to Kicking It with NairaBet, and we're certainly having a great time here with Biola Kazeem and Saw. My name is Yubi Nduanofits. Let's get on to the Copa del Ray, which of course provided so much enthusiasm and excitement for the neutrals, at least. If you're a Barcelona fan or a Real Madrid fan, it might be the time to look away, because it started on Tuesday and a Wednesday and a Thursday. It started on Tuesday actually with a team we all thought should easily have gone past the opposition. Valencia got knocked out. Defending champions, actually, got knocked out of the tournament by a team from the second division, Mirandes. I think that's the name they call them. It was a goal scored by a former Valencia player, interestingly, Roberto Soldado. But it didn't just stop there. It went on to Tuesday, of course. Wednesday, actually, where Barcelona got knocked out and Real Madrid, followed suit. What do you make of the action in Spain? It kind of feels like there is so much to look forward to in the other leagues across European football, especially in Italy and Spain. Huh?
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, things are a lot tighter in Spain and Italy. I mean, in the Premiership, there's...
What is that down to?
Well, so this has happened at different times, and it's sometimes very difficult to say it's down to one particular thing. I think that, obviously, the chasing pack in England are all in big, trouble. Chelsea had their transfer ban. They had Lampard. They've gone into this mode of, developing young players, and the consequence of having lots of young players in your team is time. You are going to need, because young players will cost you points and time. It is dishonest to have a team filled with young players and then put them under championship pressure. They're not going to win you titles. Manchester United obviously have fallen badly off the wagon. I mean, there's a delusion, there's some rebuilding going on. I mean, it's very, very clear to anybody.
Is delusion?
It's clear to anybody with, half a brain, however LSD fright, that nothing is going on at Manchester United and nothing's going to happen over the next 5 years, because the fundamental basis of any rebuild is the manager with some sense, and United obviously lack that. Arsenal as well.
Yeah.
They've had Mikel Arteta. Some people will say to you that he's had an impact. The numbers are very clear. It's just 1 win in 7 league games. He inherited the team when they were, I think, 8th. They're 10th now. There's a lot of talk about them being an attacking side. They are the third least. They've got the third least number of shots on goal.
Yeah.
In that sense, obviously Tottenham, Pochettino did such a terrible job, this season, that Jose Mourinho is in a position where if Tottenham finish somewhere in the top 6, they've done well. They were 14th when he took over. They were 7-8 points from relegation. So the chasing pack are all, which is quite rare, but they're all in a state of flux. Manchester City themselves, who you will have thought that it would be a duopoly between Liverpool and Manchester City, but City as well have badly fallen off the wagon. Obviously, people have figured out Pep Guardiola. His tactics now, obviously, obsolete. Football appears to have left him behind, and so you can see that gulf firmly established. In Spain and Italy, there's a bit of more equilibrium across the teams. Juventus, I think that bringing in Sarri,
almost watered them down
a bit, and then Inter bringing in Conte and giving him the freedom of the city they've given him. Look, if Conte says he wants to sign a donkey, they are going to get him a donkey. He signed literally some of them we've laughed at, but they found a way to. He says he wants Ashley Young, he gets Ashley Young. He wants Victor Moses. You are wondering, why does he want Moses? They get it. I want Eriksen. They make it happen. Any player he wants, they make it happen. That has put them in a position where they can compete. And obviously, you have people like Lazio who, at the beginning of the season, you don't have thought that still be in and amongst, the chasing pack, but somehow they get themselves there. So I think there's a lot of work to do as far as the EPL is concerned. That whole talk about it being a very competitive league, the reality of the matter is that 2 years ago, City won it with 100 points. Last year, they won with 98 points. Liverpool were second with 97 points. Given the trajectory this season is that Liverpool probably will even break that 100 points record. And it's looking like City maybe are on point for maybe 80 points. United, Arsenal, Chelsea, and all whatnot will be lucky to get 70 points. If the other teams don't quickly step up, I think that the gap will be even further next season, because Liverpool have got such a fantastic foundation that it literally they have such a fantastically baked cake that they just need to put some icing on it. Manchester City as well, flush with cash. They are going to spend a lot of money, another £500 million. Guardiola will become a genius again, and
tactics working,
absolutely start to work. Players will improve again, and the gulf between them, United, Arsenal, Chelsea, and Tottenham is just going to get wider.
Love the analysis on why Spain's golfing class, rather the Premier League golfing class, is a bit of a far cry basically from what we've got in Italy and in Spain. We've seen some very competitive games as far as the Copa del Ray last week, and of course we saw a fantastic derby out there in Italy. But let's also then touch base with some German football, because it will be fair, to talk about all the top leagues and not put German football into the conversation. But it feels like Bayern Munich have got back to where they naturally would like to be, and you would have thought it impossible, because the form of RB Leipzig was pretty good, and of course Hans Flickers.
What's your gone back definition?
They
I mean, they are
closer,
just 1 point ahead of RB Leipzig.
They were fourth just a few weeks ago.
I know, but it's Bayern, and this is their father's land, and this is their old boys association.
They'll win the league without the manager.
This is a system that has been built to continually feed the Bayern Munich team. So it's not like they got back. You should be giving RB Leipzig credit. In fact, I feel like they should investigate Timo Werner, because that boy, all the balls that they gave to him when they play together, even my guy Mourinho went there to go and observe. International observers, electoral committee, and Werner, open post. He threw it away. Only one person. He threw it away.
But Leipzig are actually a very good team.
Very good team, actually.
And it's the same set of problem that is going out in all the leagues.
But fundamentally, they're still closer to the Spanish league and the
all of the
Serie A. Just the Premier League is just.
Let me flip the script for you. You were saying that English teams is because of lack of quality. No, everything has a time and season. Back in the day, it was the English teams that had already done the homework and assignments, so they were coming up. You could see that every other time there will be competition, especially like 2010. 2004, 5, 6, from Mourinho era. Then as soon as Chelsea busted in, studying, we had the Benitez and all of them. So it was like 4 teams, the big 4, not that Wayo 4 that they used to give us. I'm coming. In the other leagues, all you had was Inter Milan, AC Milan. Juventus used to come and go. and then they go and now they are there,
Right.
and then they were okay. You had Bayern had Dortmund.
So what is that down to?
I'm coming. Every league had their process. What England is expressing or experiencing now is the same thing that the others used to experience. Now suddenly,
sometimes there's really no reason. It's just
suddenly, I'm not even yabbing all the messes of the world. Now, the suffer when we say England suffer, 9 days they suffer now. Everybody don't balance out. No league now is not competitive anymore. The only league that's not competitive is England.
Even
So
the Scottish League is
competitive, yeah.
NPFL, do you know that I go to NPFL match? No, I know it's
NPFL is the most competitive league in the world. Sometimes there's 5 points between first and 20th.
There are lovely stars.
Somebody's first.
King of
2
draw.
away wins, you're top of
King
the
of
world.
draw is now sitting on top of table over Plateau United.
Right.
And I will look at EPL and I see 73 points for Liverpool. And then Chelsea. And then Man City. They are not even kissing 50.
The standing joke is that there's 22 points between first and second in England, and it's not even Valentine's Day yet.
Wow.
Exactly not.
So I'm just saying it is just the signs of the times. Like you said, the youth they are rising, but that was what was happening in the other places. The young guys in Zagis, they were rising, they were there, and they were dying. No offense, not like they died, but their careers were going down.
Yeah.
So now England don't they get their own new fresh one. All the others.
The difference though is that there's an ideological dishonesty in England about this idea that managers, are judged by how they develop players, which is fundamentally false. Big championship sides don't develop no players.
They don't.
Big championship sides focus on winning. And how do you win? You get very good players, you get a very good manager, and you focus on winning.
Yeah.
Chelsea, obviously. So what I see fundamentally is a pacification strategy, and that's what's going on at Chelsea, Manchester United, and Arsenal, where the owners or the guys who run the club see that maybe it might be a bit too expensive in the moment to compete with Arsenal and Manchester City, so they sell a
narrative.
romance
Right.
of bringing an ex-player that connects deeply with the fans and talk about promoting youth, developing youth, and basically kicking the can of success down the road to suggest that if we follow this process over the next 3 years, we are going to end up, winning.
But there was a club, or there is a club that
Yeah.
is not a full pacifier. Let me borrow your line. A full pacifier or a quasi pacifier, and that's Liverpool. Liverpool do not have a coach that gives you ties to whatever the romantic days of
Oh yeah, they're clear.
But what they have a team A, a team B, a team C, and under 16 squad. Everybody in the full Liverpool, they are fully developed. So that thing that used to happen to others, I feel.
But that's not true in the sense that.
No, it's true. Because why? Before, it used to be FA Cup was for Chelsea, the Arsenals of the world. But now, Liverpool are not about winning the cup of the FA, because why? Any underage team is not really to win trophies. It's to actually develop the players. That's why you see people like Elliot. That's why you see people like, what's the other small ones that are always shining now?
Yeah.
They are coming up, they are playing against top side boys,
Yeah.
and they are kicking everything kickable. If you mark my words, I will tell you, say the next set of players for England, when we see the big people picking like say the thief for market,
Yeah.
it will be Liverpool small
Well,
boys.
I'll just say,
Because-
just to butt in a little bit. I said it's not true because even Jurgen Klopp and the rest had to buy the players.
Did they really buy though? The last time the guy buy, not be talking the guy go buy Chandler.
But
How much
Alisson,
be
bought Van
Chandler?
Dijk, got in,
When we
top
have-
players, got Fabinho
Chelsea
for good
spent
money.
money, almost 150,000 a week for
Navigator
Callum,
actually came in for
Hudson-Odoi.
70 million pounds
But,
thereabout.
but I mean, the truth
Since then,
the
how
truth
many-
of the matter is that Liverpool is a peculiar club in terms of their evolution. Look, they were a club that were down and out.
Yeah.
They were lucky to have a manager like Klopp was available, and so they got him. And what they did, the owners, the FSG, what they did was quickly realize that in this guy, we've got a guy who, if we give him time and the resources to shape the club in his own image,
Right.
we will have a chance at becoming something. This is his 5th year, and this is the first time it does look like. Last year they pushed it really,
Yeah.
like 7 points,
Yeah.
losing one game, massive. But this year is the year where obviously they are
course.
going to win the league. It's taking 5 years. I don't think any of the big sides are ever deluded.
They'll give anybody 5
Nobody's
years.
gonna Solskjaer not be a Manchester United.
They won't even give you 5
Yeah.
months.
Arteta is not going to be 5 years. So Liverpool were in a peculiar position where they were down, they were out. They found a manager who had done this before. Remember at Borussia Dortmund, and they decided, look, we're going to build a system around this guy, give him everything that he needs. He had built a really, really good foundation.
Yeah.
And then they got lucky with the Coutinho sale. They got somebody who was going to pay stupid money for a player they, in quotes, could do without. So they sold Coutinho, invested that money in Van Dijk and Alisson, fixing critical deficit in the side, and since then they've been unbeatable. So it's a combination of many factors. A very good coach, a ownership structure and management team that was forward thinking and were calm. Also fans who had been so badly battered
Anything.
that they had very little expectations. So much so that Klopp could afford to lose his first 3 finals at Liverpool, and he was still a hero. At Manchester United, depending on the name of the manager, you could win a trophy and still get fired.
True that.
And
So
then
the
some
truth-
manager can come, lose all games, and he's a fantastic guy. That's where the delusion comes in, where fundamentally it's not really, you're not loyal to results, you're just loyal to people. You delude yourself is about principles. Right. But anybody with half a brain will know it's really about people here.
You be the formula now. The formula now say make it be say you lose where when your team does not get anything to hope for, then you can bring proper development. Maybe Nigeria should.
But how many clubs are available?
Well,
maybe we should take the Liverpool
we
mentality.
actually have to
lose
from
until you don't have hope again.
Conversation. Right then, it's interesting because we actually wanted to touch base with Pep Guardiola and the renewed rivalry with Jose Mourinho. It kind of looks like the subplots have almost come together again. It actually died away for some seasons, and it's funny how things could happen, and the Premier League always has a conversation to hold on to, and that is one that might be one for the future, especially off the back of that 2-0 win against Manchester City.
I mean, the way the Premier League is presented and exported is like a drama. It's like soap opera. It's not really about football. The whole idea with the punditry, with the characterization of managers, and the form morality of some people being good, some people being bad, permanently good and permanently bad, is basically to dumbify the league so that even an idiot will feel that he understands what's going on. Yep. I mean, if you just look, this is the league where a manager is a bad person because he reacted badly that a player missed goal. But Jamie Carragher spat at a 14-year-old girl and is back on television. Right. And you're talking about morality. So you look at Manchester United. Cantona jumped from a pitch and kicked a fan. He's a hero. Sir Alex Ferguson hit Beckham with a boot. He's a hero. But a manager can't frown on a seat. He's a terrible person. So the whole form moralization is just football. It's just to dumbify it so much so that. And it's an intelligent strategy because it sucks in everybody. And so even people who are not particularly intelligent will feel that they know something because you have put people into boxes. This person is a good person. This person is a bad person. This is an attacking coach. You don't even have to analyze. Just allocate characters to people and talk through those characters. So that's what they've done also with the Guardiola, Jose Mourinho. Fundamentally, these are two guys who are okay with each other. But they continue to report them villain versus hero, the good guy versus the bad guy, the attacking guy versus the defensive guy. Even though the data is very clear that these things are not, as clear cut. The game everybody keeps talking about, the defensive matter class. Jose Mourinho was obviously the parking the Boston he did against Barcelona at the Nou Camp. Nobody talking about the fact that Mourinho beat Guardiola 3-1. A couple of weeks before, which was an attacking masterclass itself.
That's almost lost in history.
I mean, so that's the idea. It's just characterization, no thinking. Just characterize people good, bad, terrible, yadi, yadi, yadi. So that will continue. The narrative spinning will continue. But the reality is that Pep Guardiola and Jose Mourinho are two guys who really are not hung up about each other. Right. Context of football is so huge, it's so massive that you really can't get hung up about a rivalry with some guy. But the reporters and the guys who speak about the league need these characters to continue to engage people, to continue to excite people, and to continue to have the conversation going.
So with that, I'll ask one question before we segue. Did Mourinho get the haircut for Guardiola then?
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. It's all about the characterization. A man got a haircut, we have to analyze it.
It used to be like this, but it's a bit lower now.
A man gets a haircut and we have to analyze it. The haircut. I had a haircut yesterday now, let's analyze it.
Yeah, I noticed because of the hair. Because he did something. But if I had to pick something away from Mourinho and Pep Guardiola, it would be this. Every time the two of them get to play, I like seeing where their head is at when it comes to their journey as coaches. And what I saw from Guardiola, I feel like he needs to take a little bit of break because he's now a little bit of break. Guardiola needs a little bit of break because
it took one a while ago after 3 years.
I feel like he needs it. There are some people, even for class, they get some people when they say if they go holiday for their grammar cycle.
And it's obvious watching Man City that he's run out of ideas.
He has run out of ideas.
They cross the ball all the time.
Everybody knows how to set up for them. Sheffield will fit set up for them.
I mean, spend about £800 million and you're talking about a rebuild. If you give me £800 million, I'll probably Pellegrini won the league with Man City. It's not hard if you have the perfect conditions that he has.
Yeah.
I mean, how is he the genius when he's won at clubs where Niko Kovac won, Pellegrini won, Mancini won, Valverde? I mean, these are managers who have never won anything, and they win at the clubs you win, and he's the genius.
Right. Yes, the thing.
So no.
Okay, now no vex. Now I just want to say, if you want to look at anybody where we say future they rise as opposed to Pep Guardiola, now Mourinho, because the guy they do some trickery now. Look at the drama that he follows up with. Look at the camaraderie with his team. The team when he has always been big on his team, Karanka and otherwise. He has always been big on his team. But look at how
he's built a new team though.
Like, he don't build new one. And this time, like you were saying about the Premier League being about drama and stories, Baba understands the drama and stories. He
knows his role.
He knows his role. I think there's an acceptance now.
The new Mourinho now.
He can't fight it.
He doesn't come to come and tell you.
Exactly. He's not fighting. He just laughs now because he knows that no matter if Mourinho wins 7-0, he will be reported as a defensive masterclass. There's no thinking.
what he
characters.
does now is not what he says at the newsroom. Now, all those small things. I give you I-5 as a kid when we say they for the sideline, cut eye for somebody.
Even that didn't work.
Even that level when we say they do with a coaching crew. All those ones are part of a new strategy. I'm not seeing the guy being that fiery guy when it comes to answering questions. He's still an interviewer's delight. But that's, I've won 5. We're not going to see him. Instead, we'll see him wear the t-shirt say, I wear 5. Take it. I will start interpreting. It's a new Mourinho now.
Right.
That's all.
You know what this means? Right then, let's go on a
Still
break.
the most in the league.
Still the most in the league. Huh? Right then,
One finger like this.
kicking it with NairaBet. We're back in a bit. Well, of course, when the phones come out, it's betting time here on Kicking It with NairaBet, and we're certainly going to be helping you, and of course, myself included, to cash out on profitable bets. Biola Kazeem, are you a betting head, Biola?
Yes, I am.
Right then. So obviously, I'll see you on Twitter. So you
Purpose of
cannot.
this conversation.
I'll see you on Twitter. So you cannot run away from it. Let's start off in Spain before we head into the big games in England. Let's start off with Real Madrid. Actually, who've got to start off with Barcelona. Actually, we'll start off with Getafe. They've had that, topsy-turvy patch, but of course, on the website, a straight win for Barcelona would be a 1.45. It's an easy call to make, but we've seen if the last weeks are anything to go by, if you flip the bets, you might be on a chance to win some good money.
Oh yeah, definitely. If you had some funny money in your pocket, I'll tell you to take it 2x because I feel like Putin will score. Definitely.
The odds on Getafe to win is actually 7.70. Is that a possibility?
There you go. Definitely.
I mean, watching Barcelona.
Getafe have had a great season so far.
Yeah, they're having a very good season. I mean, reality of the matter is that obviously changing the switch from Valverde to Setien is quite drastic, and obviously there'll be some shock to the system. And we've seen that in how they got knocked out of the Copa del Ray.
Yeah.
We saw a holiday destination push them really, really close. In the previous games
And
against Betis as
Abidal.
well. Was really we've seen the Abidal. So it is possible. A slight possibility, that Getafe, could shock Barcelona. I won't put a lot of money on that happening, but hey, you've got a couple of thousands, you could, because if it can happen, this is the moment in which it can happen, because there's a lot of shock to the system, and one is not really sure how Barcelona, will react. And yeah, they could. Getafe could be claiming a major scalp.
They won their last game 4-3.
So
They're just edging out games. So like Bella mentioned, it might just be the time
The
to.
one against Leganes, that was a very, very delightful one.
Go ahead
I'll
and do
definitely take 2x.
2x. What does that mean? Just for clarity.
Away team to win, but both team to score.
Waiting to win, both teams to score.
Draw.
Right. It's a good thing we have
draw
here.
a small line of putting a couple of thousands, because 7 odds is quite tasty.
It's actually
If
quite
it happens,
tasty.
you get rich.
If it happens, I would have been a lot of things. But of course, let's go on to Real Madrid. Then, who of course plays Celta de Vigo. It's obviously Real Madrid are doing just what they need to do. They're winning games. They're rotating the squad, which is why the NairaBet website www.nairabet.com. It's 1.31 for Real Madrid to win, which is pretty much
But you can load it up with goals. And
Right.
they will score more than 2 goals.
But they don't score a lot
Yes, they do not score a lot, but they definitely will score more than 2 goals in this game.
against Celta de
2.5.
Vigo.
Definitely.
Well, a draw is actually 6.10, and of course, a whooping at 10.00 for the away team, which is Celta de Vigo, to go ahead and win at the Bernabeu. It's something you don't quite think would happen at this point in time.
No,
Right. So I think we'll agree on those bets, sir.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. Let's move away from Spain. Touch base with the Premier League, and interestingly, the biggest game of the weekend is actually Chelsea versus Manchester United. Chelsea have got an array of fixtures, but the only plus side to it is that all those games come at the Bridge.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if that's really a plus side, because their home form in recent times have been quite patchy. The Bridge has
crap. It's shit.
I
It's
tried-
gutter shit.
I try to be diplomatic.
From the fan perspective, shit.
Very gutter
I
shit.
try to be diplomatic, but the good thing for them is that Manchester United themselves, either home or away, are quite frankly a really poor side. But I think too much is riding on this game for either side. I get the feeling that if United lose this game, they're probably out of top 4 race. Chelsea as well cannot afford to lose, because Tottenham are moving closer. Sheffield, somehow are inching. You get the feeling that eventually Sheffield probably would not, sit in top 4 positions. But teams like Tottenham, are moving very close. Everton as well, they've hit, a decent vein of form under Carlo Ancelotti, and Chelsea obviously won't start to points on. But it just looks to me like a game that's screaming out with a draw. It just looks like a game that's perfectly set up for a draw. I'm not sure either side will be too scared to lose, to commit too much to guarantee winning, so to speak. So it does look to me like a game that has the looks of a draw written all over it.
3.75 is actually the odds on the draw for that particular game.
True.
And of course, the winning odds on Chelsea is actually 1.88. So it's actually close to 2.0, you know, which is what a lot of people look for.
The odds Manchester United to win?
United to win
4.4.
actually 4.40.
And United typically don't win at the bridge.
They
Particularly
typically
league
don't.
games.
I don't think this will be a time that they will. So I wouldn't advise anybody to carry your money and put it.
Well, of course, Favour FC is back in. Does he get a
He
chance
said
to win?
Favour FC.
Favour over Labour.
That would be
This
great.
is his first game, Sha. As an Igalo fan, I would say that this is a game that is really nice.
And it's been really, really good for Igalo
I'll
to
say
score.
wow,
if
it would be
you're going to bet
amazing,
for,
actually.
Liverpool
First time.
I'm not quite sure. I mean,
Igalo.
this is where we miss Ayo because he probably would have told us how and where to actually put a bet on Igalo to score, be an anytime goal scorer.
Oh yeah,
Right.
anytime, definitely. But I feel like this is a game that, Favour FC might actually strike.
It'll be great.
Because
It'll
it
be
is
fantastic.
Stamford
The
Bridge
streets-
is
the streets of
it's
Nigeria.
a very good fertile ground. So,
And
yes.
Twitter, Biola knows a lot about that. But it'll actually be crazy. It's going to be an interesting game for sure. That game, of course, happens on a Monday. Chelsea versus Manchester United. All the bets and all the odds are exclusive to the website www.nairabet.com. Right, let's move on to another game, which, to be honest, you know, the producers actually just made me put this here. Liverpool versus Norwich City. Is that a game we need to wait 2 seconds?
No.
2 seconds.
Liverpool to win 3-0 and upwards.
I'm guessing
I'll say,
4-0.
If you have that ticket that you used to put some strange things inside, just say Norwich to score.
I mean,
Liverpool will
Norwich are at home though. Is
No,
that any?
What does it matter?
Norwich to score. So
What does
both
it matter?
teams.
How many games do they win either home or away? They're decent football inside. I saw them against Tottenham. You know, ran Tottenham close just a couple of weeks ago. But Liverpool are frightening. Liverpool they're unbeatable. They're invincible.
Right.
And if I thought they are going to drop points, certainly wouldn't be against
So they'll be
Norwich.
with the goal.
So I see a plastering for
Not
Norwich.
in
I
Norwich.
can't look beyond a Liverpool battering on Norwich in this game.
Of course, you must have seen the Liverpool stories in social media. Mo Salah and Henderson's wives giving birth to
9 months.
9 months,
9 months
and a day just after. The accuracy is
I was going to
staggering.
ask, if you were Mo Salah and Henderson, you would have had a baby too, wouldn't you?
More like
Probably.
twins.
What better
More
way
like twins, more like twins.
What better way to celebrate than get
More
there?
like twins. And of course, if you're lost for, making any sense of this conversation, it actually goes back to the night actually which they won against AS Roma. So that's 9 months and a day after exactly 2 wives, 2 seconds.
Everywhere
Right.
balls.
Let's get on to Arsenal versus Newcastle. It's a manager that wasn't given much of a chance when he took the job, Steve Bruce, but he's done a remarkable job at Newcastle. And I say remarkable relative to the context which he, of course, took over.
I agree. The world is remarkable. Benitez left, inherited something that looks like a mess, so to speak. They've struggled in bits and parts, but as a whole, it's made sense of what fundamentally look like a real banana scale. And but I think that Arsenal probably will do enough just to win this one.
Just because they're the Emirates.
Absolutely, I think that's a factor. Newcastle away, really, really. I mean, you won't say really, really poor because what are like? I mean, they can be excellent away. They're a side that have to prioritize being solid, keeping their shape, being very organized, and hoping to hick out a win or a point, on the road. I just think that Arsenal probably will find a couple of gaps, over the course of 90 minutes, to win. Arsenal have, it draws now on that. I think about 5. So they're
Just
inside.
one league win in 7.
This is a
Just
team
one
that
league win in
he
7.
was going
But
to
they don't concede a lot of goals.
Yeah.
They don't concede a lot of goals.
So a bit of
anymore.
structure to their play.
A bit of shape, a bit of structure, also a bit of...
Which is expected because the new manager is in.
I was going to say, but this is not exactly a bounce because a new manager's bounce is supposed to put wins on board before things peters out. But Arsenal are so dead that they couldn't even bounce.
What the fuck?
Well, that's it. It's a nice rhyme to it. Right, but if you're wondering what the odds look like for Arsenal to win against Newcastle, 1.45, and of course a draw sees a 4.90, which is where I probably put my money on. And of course,
Arsenal win, right?
No, a draw. Actually.
Oh, really?
I feel like a draw sits better with me.
I'll put money on Arsenal. I think that they're
put
due.
money on a Newcastle to give
Which is a
them
7.70.
Really?
Basically, see, for this table, anytime when we say, even if it's higher than City, anytime anybody can have a so-called bottom belly a mid-western,
Mid-level team.
A mid-level or Eastern team, they always hit their mouth.
I mean, real shot.
If you check the board, my lies.
No, I was actually leading that board.
I mean,
Is it leading the board now?
I was actually.
it
I
leading
actually got a
Ayo is
Liverpool.
excellent at predicting games.
Yeah, I actually got
You got
Liverpool.
that.
Yeah,
accurate.
I enjoy watching games with Ayo.
Yeah, it's actually quite
Yeah,
great.
but
Not United games though.
I mean, I can imagine.
Newcastle, I feel like they're the team that they're going to boogie this your prediction.
Okay, that would be nice.
That'll
For
be
my
nice.
agenda. Oh, you don't know. It's
Yeah,
music to my ears.
I don't know what's going on.
I
Right.
just can't win with you, can I?
Let's wrap it up on the preview conversation. And of course, do we touch base with do we touch base with Tottenham's game? Tottenham Aston Villa. Tottenham have been ran very close by a lot of teams, and Jose Mourinho, by his own admission, has said they really don't have time to work tactically. But the spirit is what
they're also missing huge chunks of that side, which is what a lot of people don't pay attention to. Before Lloris came back, they didn't have Lloris. They had the Argentine clown in goal. Then they lost Musa Sissoko as well, who is an integral part of the side.
Yeah.
And then more than anything else, they lost Harry Kane, who is the only striker they really have. In this team. So a bit of key components of the team are out, and Jose Mourinho is just patching things up, managing to get results. But over the past 2-3 games, they've scored multiple goals in games.
Yeah.
They've created chances.
They conceded more.
They've put goals in. I mean, they've been conceding ever since it's coming. And like you said, it doesn't really just have that work or that time. It's coming, and the games are coming thick and fast. He's got the FA Cup, he's got Champions League, he's got the league as well. They were so far behind, and somehow they've climbed up 9 spots now, just 4 points behind Chelsea. So it's a bit of a patchwork, and you cannot expect a masterpiece. But it's pieced them together, and it's just trudging up. I think that they'll do enough to get all 3 points against Tottenham, particularly now that the side have rested just a little bit. They will come back with a bit more vigor, slightly more energized. Yeah. There's enough creativity and thrust going forward to get a couple of goals against Aston Villa.
Right then, Aston Villa to defeat Tottenham at home is 4.20, and of course, draw at 3.90. Tottenham to win is a 1.88. Remember, the Premier League is on a winter break, and of course, it's staggered across 2 weeks, so 5 games per weekend. It's certainly an interesting time for Premier League footballers, and ex-footballers have been tweeting saying, especially Fabregas, he said, the 17th season, not 17. The period I stay in the Premier League, I leave just 1 season after you guys have a winter break, so which is not quite great, but of course, I'm sure we are absolutely loving it here in this part of the world, and especially if you're an Igalo fan, I'm sure it gives him time to, get into training form to probably score a goal at Chelsea. That is pretty much everything we can take on the show today. We've had a great conversation. No doubt about that. And Biola has had a chance to, put his agenda on the table once more.
Everyone has an agenda.
Everyone does, right? You just put your own out there.
I'm going to put the name Newcastle inside Peg. I'm putting it in a basket.
Like I said, it works on my agenda.
It does, actually. Well, as well, it's also good to have you as well.
Thank you for having me over, guys.
Fantastic. Always. Great. Biola, hopefully see you some other time very soon, not in 2021, because we know you're a hard man to track down. But of course, to you who has been watching from home, we dearly appreciate it. But more so, be a part of the conversation on social media. Use the hashtag Kicking It with NairaBet. That's Kicking It with NairaBet. On Twitter, it's at KNairaBet. And on YouTube, pretty much Kicking It with NairaBet. Subscribe to the channel. And of course, we'll hit you up with some interesting trivias as the weeks go by. Don't forget, all the bets are exclusive to the website, NairaBet.com. We'll see you soon.